Hi, folks. So welcome back to the Light Minds Lens. Today we're going to look at something that probably is responsible for draining more energy than anything else that I can think of, being the operative term, because it's overthinking. Um, you probably recognize that feeling when your brain just won't quit. It's churning over the same question, the same what ifs, the same scenarios. And the more you think about it, the less clarity you seem to have. So the truth of the matter is, your brain is brilliant at solving problems, but sometimes it starts solving problems that don't even exist. And that's why you can end up in these loops, where you question yourself, what if I mess up? What if this doesn't work? What if I can't keep going? But let me ask you this. What has thinking harder or yeah, when is probably a better way of looking at it. When has thinking harder ever made you feel better? When has replaying the same thought given you peace of mind? See, the problem isn't the thought, it's the seriousness that we give that thought. So, as part of the Light Minds program, we're not asking you to stop thinking. That's just not possible. Your brain will keep producing thoughts all day long. That's what its job is. The thing about what we're saying in Light Minds is that um, you just don't have to take that thinking so seriously. You can stop assuming that every thought is true and stop confusing what you're thinking with what's real. One of the simple phrases I used to use when I became aware of this was when my thoughts started spiraling, really going, and I was overthinking. Uh, Sometimes you hear me say this is the revved up thinking. I would stop and say, that's just a thought, not a truth. And you've heard me talk about using the metaphor of the weather. It's a bit like watching a cloud drift across the sky. You just let it pass. If you've ever um, done any meditation, meditation isn't about trying to get you to stop thinking. It's about allowing the thoughts just to float away. So imagine you're sitting by a river and the water's flowing by and it's carrying twigs and it's got leaves and it's got branches. And every one of these represents a thought. Now you can lean forward and grab a twig or a branch. You can pick it out, you can wrestle with it, you can break it, you can twist it, you can do all those kind of things with it. Or you could just sit back and watch it drift by and then let the river carry it on downstream. So overthinking is when we grab hold of every branch. And clarity is what happens when we sit back and we watch and we let it all just float away. Another way of thinking about it is like, when your computer freezes up and it's very frustrating and you're trying to do everything to get it going again and you keep clicking and you keep pressing keys and nothing seems to work. And then some smart aleck, normally one of my sons, says, just restart it and see what happens. And that's what happens with the mind too. Overthinking is like your mental computer freezing. And the restart is simple. Notice the thought. Remind yourself, this is just thinking, and then take a step back. Now, the real liberating part is that you don't have to believe every thought that shows up. Believing every thought is like letting every salesperson who comes knocking on your door into your house. Some of them you can just smile at, close the door, and carry on with your day. Not every thought deserves your energy. Not every thought deserves time. So, I do these roughly once a week. Maybe if you're watching it on a replay or something like that, then it might not be the case. But why don't you just go and practice for a week? Catch yourself when you're spiraling, when you're overthinking. And you'll know it, by the way, because you'll feel it. Um, you'll feel it probably before you hear yourself doing all the thoughts. That's why when you hear me talk about feeling, feeling is the power. Feeling is the trigger. It's the sign that I'm in my head. I'm overthinking. I've got contaminated thinking going on. And when you can catch yourself like that, that's when you pause and you say, "This is just a thought. It's not a truth." And then you might just notice that it creates space for you. You might notice that the grip of the thought loosens and how your body relaxes, your shoulders drop, your breathing slows. Um, and that's all because you're not thinking. Your thoughts are passing weather and you're the sky. You've heard me talk about it. The blue sky never goes away. That's you. Um, so to finish off, your brain's always going to keep offering you thoughts. That's what it's there to do. Your job is simply to notice which ones to take seriously and which ones to let drift by. Sometimes you might have heard me say, in reality, we're not sure we have choices to do anything. But if there is one place we can have a choice, that's when we choose which thoughts that we jump on and which we just let go. That's the off switch for overthinking. So I hope you found that useful. Um, and thanks very much for joining me. And please post any thoughts you have. Thanks.